What's up, everybody, and welcome back to our latest edition of the Quake Pro League for Season 2. My name's Ketchup, joined by the always talented Flea and DJ Wheat, where we're going into our final matchup of the day. And I definitely think this is the matchup that a lot of our viewers have been the most excited for. It's going to be Cypher, it's going to be CNZ. Starting with you, Flea, what do we think about this?
I mean, this is going to be a good one, right? Cypher has always been one of the prodigies of Quake, an incredibly talented player who can just make magic happen whenever he feels like it. And on the other hand, you've got CNZ, the up-and-comer who had an incredible run back in the Quake World Championships, the Stage 4 finals, and who is now really making a name for himself. So Cypher looking confident as ever, but he's up against a solid opponent.
Yeah, I mean, CNZ, hands down, has been one of the most exciting individuals to watch. You know, we've talked many times about his rise from, challenger, made his way in by the skin of his teeth, and then just acted like, hey, I've been here the entire season. It's all good. But seeing the performances in Season 2, and, right now he's ranked right up there along with the Maestro boys. So, Cypher, who is this legendary Quake player that we all know, and who, in his interviews here on stream has also said, yeah, it's time to buckle up, and it's time to do what I know I can do. And I think I'm just super excited for this matchup.
Ooh, and I think we have extra reason to be excited because on top of Molten Falls and Blood Covenant, we're finishing on Deep Embrace. So we actually get to have our last map of the day be one of the new ones, Galena versus the Ison. So it's not even going to be all about mobility, it's about the utility of dropping stuff. So potentially a different vibe to a map that we've seen a couple of times now in Quake Pro League, and I'm excited to see how we finish things up there.
Absolutely, players going for the deployables on the last map, but we're starting things off with Molten Falls, one of the largest ones in the pool. We've got two fast champions. You've got both of the air control characters going up against each other, Sorlag versus Anarchy, and then Blood Covenant. We're seeing the Nyx staple pick on that map up against the Doomslayer, who is so useful with that double jump around the center area.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Seeing Deep Embrace at the end, especially, we've been seeing this map come in a little bit more and more week after week as players are getting more and more comfortable with it. But seeing these two players, what we've seen on Deep Embrace is really interesting because each player has sort of been bringing their own style, right? And we haven't seen one way that the map is played. So I'm very much looking forward to that one. Very excited that we always see all three maps just because that one is guaranteed. But I want, before we hop into a game, I'm really curious to hear what you all think from a prediction perspective. And if you want, I can throw out. I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm putting it all on you, but I think CNZ can take this one 2-1.
I'm gonna go ahead and say 2-1 for Cypher. Still have confidence in the man from Belarus, but it is going to be a very tightly won victory.
It's very hard to call, but if we're going by consistency, CNZ is a player that we're definitely keeping an eye on right now. But again, this tends to be like a lot of players and fans, I think, will be going with their heart here. I would like to see Cypher get that 2-1, but there's some potential curveballs. The Molten Falls that CNZ is really talented on, and then Deep Embrace. I mean, that's going to come down to how prepared both players are, not only for the new map, but how opponents play on the new map. So there's a lot of stuff to factor in here. I believe we're loading into Molten Falls right now, so I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of Flea and Wheat. Lads, take it away.
Thank you, Ketchup. We are about to jump into the first map of this series. And chat, I always ask for these final games, make some noise. Let us hear who you want to win. I want to see some Cyphers inside. I want to see some love for CNZ. Let us know who you want to win this final series of the day. We've got our featured matchup, jumping into it right now.
I mean, and what a featured matchup it is to, close out the day, Flea. Very excited for this one. Glad to be back on the mic with you. And we're kicking things off by watching CNZ. And, we talked about his performance here. And one of the things I wanted to say was that I've always been really impressed with, how he's used kind of Sorlag in a unique way. And there you're kind of seeing it right there. Not afraid to get up in his opponent's face, using that spit when appropriate. And now, neither player came out of that one super great, but that's exactly how we've kind of been seeing CNZ play this one. Now, Cypher's not a pushover by any means. As you said, many people thinking with their hearts here and what what his potential is. And CNZ should definitely not feel overly confident in this matchup because he's up against the legend.
Cypher, though, missing out on opportunity to get an early frag. CNZ surviving with barely 10 points of health to his name. And actually setting up for the Mega already, but he knows that that's too risky. One rail will spell disaster, while Cypher has got the stack advantage, so CNZ looping his way back around. He wants to get himself a rocket, but that might have been too aggressive, Wheat.
It might have been, I mean, some great LG from CNZ, and that's one of the things you need to watch out from this guy. More importantly is how much damage he got off before any was returned at that point. Unfortunately, not hitting the rails that I think CNZ would like to. Has only hit one of the three is actually shot right now. As we prepare for this Mega, we are certainly going to see a battle, or actually a Cypher just comes up from the top, kind of easy rail that is missed by CNZ. Not even sure he's expecting his opponent to do that, but he'll be able to get this heavy.
Also, that was 85% LG.
Wow.
From CNZ. That's what he's sitting at right now. It wasn't a lot of shots fired, but still, the tracking on that was absolutely obscene. And now CNZ, we've seen him play this way quite often, slowing things down from the very start, right? He's got a bit of a stack advantage over his opponent, so much armor he doesn't know what to do with, and he knows that he can just bully Cypher if he gets him in a bad spot.
Now, that's exactly why I would be scared of Cypher and why you've got to be careful going after the Mega like he did. There's two rails now coming out from Cypher. The first one was dropped down from the middle section as he was waiting for CNZ to make his way in there. And he really hasn't returned back. Like, 85 LG is great, but in reality, the rail, Cypher's hitting a 75% rail if 3 of his 4 shots have hit. And that's what I would be super scared about. I'd be looking to see if Cypher can continue those types of shots. It's exactly how he can put himself in a great position for some of these battles. But 2 great rockets followed up by another rail, and I cannot believe it. The Mega Health saves Cypher's life right there. So great shots from CNZ, but he can't get it done.
We're at 2,000 damage done collectively and are only now just getting our first frag. Cypher with the fadeaway rocket nailing the lizard in the face and getting himself that 1-0 up. And he's got a pretty good rotation going now too. Mega up in 5 seconds, but does he want to position himself anywhere near it? He knows that Sorlag, of course, a heavy champion, has a tremendous starting stack, and he's got to be careful about that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way that he's played, which has been a little bit slower, but incredibly effective. So I think it's smart, right? Cypher can't really be making any shots. And hold on, CNZ coming up that jump pad, a LG to 2 rockets, and Cypher takes that one pretty easily, actually, and in great shape too, considering he's at 173 right now. And yeah, I think that Cypher choosing to play a little bit more reserved is the way to go. Some LG into 2 more double rockets and a duplicate to the previous frag we just saw. He also delays Mega by just a little tiny bit. He's going to try to make his way over to Heavy, and I think he actually might get it. He's at least going to be able to drop some shots down. 1 rocket, a second rocket, and flee. Some great play coming out here by Cypher.
That's the 300 damage from the player for Belarus. Now he's going to push in the LG, looking fire.
Wow.
And down goes CNZ. Both players vying for who can hit the most with that lightning gun. CNZ, now the rockets have to be good, but Cypher using the terrain to his advantage. It's so difficult to land shots on opponent on the staircase like that. That's a close spawn. Cypher has to be mindful of those. CNZ getting off some good starting damage with that base shotgun, but will retreat.
You know, you usually don't want to be wrong for predictions, but in this case, I'm okay with it because Cypher has come out a double rail for his 6th frag, and then a huge rocket jump to get him a lot of momentum going over to the side. He does take some of that spit, and it'll tick away just a little bit here as he is going to have to stack in order to fight again. But Cypher just playing a beautifully crafted game here, being aggressive when he needs to, hitting some very nice long-range shots. I'm liking what I see. And CNZ, it kind of feels like Cypher's put him out of his comfort zone a little bit. He's wanting to play the game that he wants to play, but Cypher's like, great, that's fine. I'm ready for that. I can play to that style. And here we have another situation. CNZ coming in huge. We do have a suicide from Cypher, but he also gets the frag, so things equalize. They stay the same. And we do get an eject off the spawn, but it's CNZ is going to be able to bring it back. Now, is this an opportunity for a momentum swing? I don't know, but so far, Cypher has absolutely dominated the first 5 minutes of this game.
I often feel like CNZ is just struggling when it comes to the weapons. Cypher is doing an excellent job sitting at the center area of the map and denying rockets. If you look at the stats, Cypher has done 1500 damage with rockets as opposed to CNZ just barely getting 300.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference. You see it time and time again in these close quarter engagements. CNZ is forced to use the LG, while Cypher can just bounce his opponent around with tremendous rockets that he's so well known for. So the weapon choice in most of these fights, or rather the weapon availability, isn't favoring the Estonian player.
Wow, that was an interesting exchange there as he is boosted off of that jump pad. 1 point of health for CNZ. He's going to drop down for the... Oh, as Cypher was waiting for it. He can't get those 225s. I love it. He has to go to the other two bubbles. And yeah, CNZ is just... I mean, really, just Cypher is... right, those perfect peaks with the rail. He is being pretty aggressive when he's coming into some of these areas because he know he can be, and it's just really kind of throwing CNZ off a little bit here. There's 3 minutes left on this clock, and Cypher just continues to play in this method, and he's going to be able to take away this map pick from CNZ.
If you look at the item pickups, there really hasn't been an advantage either way.
Yeah.
Cypher is picking up 9 megas and 4 armors, and CNZ has gotten the exact opposite of that, so there's no advantage there. But if you then look at the damage dealt, Cypher is at 3,700, while CNZ barely edging over that 2,000 mark, so that's nearly double the damage for Cypher by now.
Yeah, I mean, so much like free damage coming from Cypher. There's a nice rail from CNZ, another one that he desperately needed. He is going to probably be able to get Mega off of that, and he does. But you know, I don't know that he's going to be able to gain any momentum from here, and that's just partially due to, you know, how Cypher is hitting those shots. He is definitely out damaging CNZ in a major way, and there's not much that CNZ can do about it.
And oh my god, these defensive rockets into the rail! Cypher making it rain. But the problem is, even if CNZ does manage to get some momentum going, as he might here right and now, he still has to make 5 frags happen in 90 seconds against an Anarchy. Cypher can just run away and speed out of the room the moment his opponent shows his face. So CNZ, he needs a miracle just to tie things up.
Yeah, and even with Cypher's ability to run, he is also hitting everything as he fall away LGs his opponent for the frag. 2-8 now. And this 6 frag deficit is starting to look pretty nasty as we get into this final minute. Some rockets coming out. Cypher will bring another one back, 2-9. And so that's sort of in-your-face play here that we have seen out of CNZ on this map particularly. Didn't quite work out just due to the very meticulous nature in which Cypher has been playing, and he CNZ does pick up a frag there to make it 3-9, but at this point it's not going to matter. He's got to be starting to think about some a little bit about the next couple maps and what he's going to do differently here, because certainly didn't play out in his favor.
And the aim, the Cypher aim, 50% LG, 66% rail. The man from Belarus is just dropping bombs left and right, and CNZ, even despite his best efforts, can't get comfortable because Cypher is punishing him in every single engagement. Even when CNZ secures an item, Cypher is there to hurt him so badly. And it's preventing the Estonian player, the Black 100 representative, from making any headway in this matchup.
I mean, if anyone wants to give an MVP award to something in this game, it would be Cypher's rail. It was pretty sick. I think he ended it with, 63% on the rail. And they're all like very crucial rails, whether they were double rails that resulted in a frag or they were those cross map rails. You know, some unfortunate moments during that game for CNZ. He does manage to pull out 4 frags, 11-4. But, you know, Cypher kind of made a statement with that game going into our next couple games.
Absolutely, and CNZ now has to go hard on the strategy side of things. There we go, actually get to see him. It was mainly the Cypher show on the webcam so far, but what do you do when you're CNZ right now? You clearly cannot beat your opponent on aim alone. Cypher is hitting ridiculous shots, so you have to outposition him, you have to beat him in the item game, but even then, Cypher is so solid all around that it's going to be difficult for CNZ to even put a dent in that if Cypher continues playing this way.
Yeah, I mean, Cypher also just, there was a couple moments that first time he was able to delay the Mega a little bit so that he could get in back to the heavy room in order to, drop some rockets on CNZ. We mentioned about the damage difference, and it is still almost about 2,000 damage, like 1,900 damage. And again, all coming from those moments where Cypher had a jump on CNZ or hit that perfect rocket like you were talking about earlier. But I mean, look at that. It came out pretty great there for Cypher, and that's a lot of pretty scary momentum going into game 2. Now we got Deep Embrace to think about, for game 3, and I think that one's going to be interesting either way. But Blood Covenant, right? A map that Cypher's been playing for years and years and years. We got the Knicks versus Doom on this one. What do you think? If you were just to base it off the results of what we saw in that last game, Flea, what would you say?
Cypher is just looking almost insurmountably strong, it feels like. CNZ is going to have to make excellent use of that Ghost Walk, not just defensively, because the moment you only use it to get away, you're giving Cypher exactly what he wants. You need to be proactive using that ability, catch your opponent off guard, continue apply the pressure when he's not expecting it, and do not allow him to deny weapons, because that's what we saw, right? Cypher denying rockets so often. CNZ at 500 damage? What? 3 against Cypher's 2k when it came to rocket alone? That's tremendous, and it helped the Belarusian player tremendously.
Yeah, and you mentioned the offensive Ghost Walk, but not like that one that we saw from Cygib going into the heavy on the same map. So
not like that.
Yeah, not like that. So it'll be interesting to see if he can utilize it in the proper ways. Certainly has the right mindset, style for it. But Cypher looked great. This doesn't look like a we're not sure if the Cypher who we know and love came to and showed up to play today. 1,000% that Cypher is here. So getting into a comfort zone like Blood Covenant is exactly where he'd love to be with a 1-map lead here in this series. But as we are about ready to start, thanks for joining us here for week 7. And here we go. Another game. It is 1-0 in Cypher's favor between CNZ and Cypher.
I mean, I commented on this a few weeks ago when Cypher sent that tweet out saying he was going to go try hard in Quake, and then he took down Razy 3-0, won another tournament the week after, clean sweeping so many top-tier players. This is the Cypher we know and love, one of the absolute greatest of all time, a magician, even in the worst of fights. And now it's up to CNZ to find some kind of a solution to this onslaught.
Yeah, and you called it out, and I'm glad that you saw that, Flea. I've been keeping that narrative alive as we've been watching, Cypher in a few different weeks, and it's absolutely correct. Anyone who's been able to watch, Cypher throughout the years is certainly excited to see how he's playing right now. And following CNZ, who essentially is just eating nothing but rails from Cypher already, who's kicking things off early, but with a 66% rail. So CNZ finds himself not really much to fight with. He is going to catch his opponent going for the heavy and immediately barrel over to the Mega to pick that up, but hasn't really had any favorable position yet, as we've seen Cypher kind of dictate all of that so far here on Blood Covenant.
Good rail from CNZ there, though. He needs to start landing those kinds of shots if he wants to stay competitive in this matchup. Cypher caught in a bad spot, bounced against the wall, both players low. Both players retreating to lick their wounds. CNZ, though, kind of heading the same way as Cypher does. He's going to prioritize the heavy, while our Doomslayer is going to pick up the Mega.
Yep. CNZ now is back up at least in health to 79. Has a good idea where Cypher is. And I did kind of expect a low-scoring game. Hold on, setting it for a trap. Coming around the corner, actually, CNZ looks the other way, forced to pop that Ghost Walk, and is going to have to hightail it out of there. Cypher just with some very quick reaction, turning the corner. A little bit of surprise, but that surprise resulted in damage. Then I commented on how exchange of rails there. CNZ lands his, but so does Cypher. I commented how Cypher really has been a master of positioning here, right? All the areas where he can land some of those rails, hit some nice shots, and try to control the power up, the items that he wants the most. He's going to grab himself a rail and go back up to the bridge. But CNZ's kind of been like hanging out in the back alleyways of Blood Covenant and just trying to find any opportunity, any door to open. Cypher's just been doing a good job of like closing them as he's running through the map.
I also want to point out that we basically saw a repeat of what happened on Molten Falls there, Wheat. Cypher retreated to Mega and he just sat on it for 10 seconds before picking it up, very deliberately leaving a delay, a few cycles back, of course. And then when he picked it up, he rushed over to Heavy and started off allowing himself to get full control. So he's again deliberately delaying his own weapon, or his own item rather, just under the assumption that he will be able to come out on top in the engagements and then turn that into full rotational control of both of the items.
Yeah, it played out very nicely too, Flea, because as we watched CNZ, where we didn't see Cypher at all, Cypher was just happily over on the rail bridge. He dropped down some Tri-Bolt and then was like, oh, I get this item for free too. And so that was a perfectly crafted delay there. Now, again, hasn't resulted in a frag yet, but every little bit of control that Cypher can try to kind of claw away is going to be beneficial to whatever first major engagement that results in a frag will come out. We're about to hit the 4-minute mark in this matchup. CNZ playing very slow, very steady, because Cypher is maintaining a strict grasp of control on this map so far.
On the other hand, though, props to CNZ as well. Cypher has been running around the map like a madman, and he barely manages to catch a glimpse of his opponent. CNZ knows he's in no position to contest for any major item, not until he lands a few more rails or catches Cypher off guard, and so he's just trying to disappear, make himself completely unknown. Oh, Cypher looks down at the right time, good rocket! CNZ gets out and didn't even have to use the Ghost Walk right there, so he still had that in his arsenal.
Yeah, that was actually shocking. I thought for certainly it was going to come out, but here it comes out, so he can safely grab that Mega, or he doesn't yet, but does manage to get it. Cypher already putting some damage on. That Mega was negated pretty much before it was even picked up there. Again, Cypher, being very, very smart on that one. CNZ, though, I have to say, that was good. What would have happened if he wouldn't have had Ghost Walk right there? But every single time that it looks like CNZ is going to get a little bit of a foothold, it's like the mountain shakes a little bit, and that mountain is Cypher. And CNZ now 97 points of health. He narrowly, I don't think he's noticed at all by Cypher as he jumps over from column to column. But what an interesting game that we've seen so far, because clearly Cypher is playing with a massive amount of control, and CNZ is just trying to play to adjust to this. So it is still interesting to watch from his perspective. He's had a couple of real close calls, but one of those could end up resulting in a frag.
CNZ is doing an excellent job at positioning himself when Cypher does catch him, though. Like when we saw over at LG, Cypher finally catches him, and he will do it again here. LG into rail. Beautiful shot. But as I was saying, whenever CNZ got caught out before that one, he always had a good defensive position to bounce his opponent back through a choke point or get out clean. But not that time, though. Caught on top of the catwalk. Cypher not going to let him escape. Can Cypher find him? CNZ was hiding right at the bottom below of that pillar. Cypher missed his opportunity.
He did. And, at the same time, it just allowed him to, because you got to think about it, like CNZ is still standing there for a few seconds. And he doesn't get caught by Cypher. It doesn't result in another frag, but it just allows Cypher to try to get a little bit more control. And there is the second frag coming out from Cypher. He ends that one much healthier than I think his opponent would have hoped to see him at. 118. He's waiting down below for that light. And now with the 2 frag lead, can pretty much dictate the pace here. We're going to hit the 7-minute mark. And, CNZ, like you said, I do like how CNZ was playing. Very, very smart. But he, unfortunately, it wasn't really allowing him to make anything happen. There were no plays.
Ooh, good read from Cypher. CNZ does manage to get the frag, but it is a trait. I like Cypher reading that one perfectly, though.
At least he did use that offensive ghost walk there.
Yeah, we did get to see it at least once. Oh, the Berserk comes out, falls just short. Cypher does manage to get out. Takes
it's a scary sight, Flea, right there.
Yeah. The Doomslayer just coming straight at you. And CNZ starting to land some rails. This isn't over yet, Wheat. CNZ finally catching a second wind, it seems like, landing some good shots. And Cypher's got next to nothing in terms of weaponry. Drops down straight onto that shoddy. And CNZ closes the gap further.
And I mean, now going back and analyzing some of the things that we were saying is that, like, yeah, CNZ was playing a little slower, playing a little safer. It wasn't opening up a lot of room, for him to make plays. But being patient results in this, right? And I think that it goes to say, like, if you get super aggro, you allow Cypher to get a few more frags, you're not going to be able to have only a single frag lead. So all of what we were commenting on CNZ earlier has absolutely played off. And now we got a fight here at the heavy. It's picked up by CNZ. The LGs lock in battle, but we see CNZ tie it up 3-3 now, and we're gonna hit the 90-second mark. And this game just got real exciting after a pretty slow 5 minutes.
That was one of the first major misplays we've seen from Cypher today. I have no idea why he pushed there. Maybe he thought CNZ was weak, but he absolutely wasn't. And he pushed in with, 50 points of health and just the LG against CNZ, who just picked up heavy? That was a death sentence. The moment Cypher pushed in after his opponent picked up the item, that was a huge misplay, and it allowed the Estonian player to tie things right back up and even get himself a stack advantage to work with as well. Now, can he catch Cypher?
Yeah, even Cypher at that point was still low, was playing incredibly aggressive, actually, right there, looking for a shot on CNZ, and he once again continues to kind of, rat his way around the map a little bit, playing much more consciously. And now from the top level, rockets being dropped down, the heavy is up, a rail does land. Can he hit a second one? He doesn't. CNZ walks away very, very low.
Both of these players are taking some tremendous risks. CNZ still peeking over the edge of the bridge to go for that final angle when he was railable. If he had taken a bad shot there, that could have been the end. Using the Ghost Walk. And we might as well be in overtime now. CNZ's in trouble. One more rail and he's dead. How can he escape? Rocket barely flying by. Looks like Cypher wants to apply pressure from above, but CNZ does get away with the heavy.
And it's like we're starting all over again, right? It's 0-0. The map just started. Next frag wins it. And what an interesting position to be in. CNZ showing, like, hey, the last map was, 11-4? But I've got what it takes, and brought it back from a very controlling Cypher, which I think is interesting. We're now 30 seconds in, and we're going to have a fight over here at the heavy. It's picked up by Cypher, who's looking incredibly good. He does have the stack in order to get a little bit more aggressive here. Now, Ghost walks up, and that's what he needs to... If he could force that out, that'd be great. And there it gets popped. What is Cypher going to do now as he goes through the teleporter down to the lower levels? It's going to allow CNZ to get away and reposition, picking up those hourglasses, and I think that's a smart move, but maybe that's exactly where Cypher will eventually catch him out. We'll have to see what he decides here as we're a minute into overtime.
And that's one of the issues with this matchup. Doomslayer's ult is almost never used unless you have to run away. And that means that obviously you're losing out on a bunch of utility, but you're also leaving up a lot of those hourglasses. And Nyx just eats them for breakfast. She wants to be able to use the Ghost Walk all the time. And so that allows CNZ a lot of freedom, a lot of movement, and a lot of situations in which he would usually get punished or wouldn't be able to get the Ghost Walk up in time that he now can. So that makes it so that Cypher has to first force out the Ghost Walk and then catch him again for the frag.
Yeah, another big delay by Cypher on the Mega as well. Didn't see his opponent, and so he gave it about a 10 additional seconds. So I would expect we'll see another fight here over at Heavy. Not sure it's going to be a decider. Cypher does sneak over the side. Meanwhile, CNZ coming from the other side over on the Mega, and both of our items are up, and we'll pretty much trade positions here. CNZ giving it a couple additional seconds, but now Cypher with the armor stack, CNZ with the health stack, and will we have a fight here in the middle?
This reminds me of the previous game, or one of the previous games rather, Toxic versus Vanguard. This map as well. Serious overtime once more. Very similar vibes in this matchup, but of course both of these players, they know what's on the line. CNZ, if he drops this one, he will have lost the series to Cypher. Good rail, one, twice.
Oh my god!
Cypher's hurting. Out comes the aggressive Ghost Walk. Can he find him?
Beautiful. That was absolutely so well played there at the end. I mean, obviously coming off of those 3 amazing shots that he made out of those 4 rails, he hit 3 of them. The Ghost Walk to come out, it really made Cypher question, where can I go? Where is safe? That beautiful drop down. I mean, if he would have landed that rail, that would have been just so sick. But CNZ just needed to pull a little bit from that well. And he did, Flea. That was just such an incredible, I mean, chat right now, just GG's across the board. It doesn't matter who you're rooting for. The end of that game was marvelous. Well played by CNZ. We're now tied 1-1. Very nicely done.
Yeah, both players played that so well. Cypher getting that I was gonna say early lead, but it took around 5 minutes for that first frag. But Cypher getting a lead, around 3 frags of an advantage, but then CNZ clawing it back. And then that beautiful finish, of course, the rails consecutively hitting, and then the rocket jump into the aggressive Ghost Walk. A beautiful place. And that means that we're all tied up before we're jumping into the final map week. So we're 1-1. It's all down to this. Chat, I saw a lot of love for Cypher, a lot of love for CNZ. Clearly, these players are evenly matched. CNZ relieved after that one, after that huge clutch. So the winner will be decided by Deep Embrace, one of the very brand new maps.
Exciting, Flea. I mean, check the books and call me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure that Deep Embrace has ever been the deciding match in a featured match yet. So that's pretty exciting to see as well, because I don't believe I've seen either of these players play on Deep Embrace, and they're both playing out of their minds right now. So this might just come down to who's put more time into Deep Embrace. So, I mean, I don't even know if I could make a call as to whose style it would lean more towards, but this is a really exciting way to wrap up our second featured match here for week 7.
A lot of this is going to go down to how CNZ can stand up against that Cypher momentum, right? We saw what happened on Molten Falls when you let Cypher just rain free. He will be out of reach before you know it. CNZ adapted far better in the second map, where he just held his own, kept things to a very close scoreline, and then yes, he was a few frags behind, but it was still entirely manageable. I think that if CNZ allows Cypher to just get that flying start out of the gates, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, but if he can hold his own, play it a bit passive, and react to what Cypher's doing, then this could very well be going in CNZ's favor.
Yeah, we're loading up the map right now, but I mean, all the possibilities are just sort of spinning through my head right now, especially as we're, thinking about potential turret placements, totem placements as well. And it looks like we are about ready to go live. We're tied 1 game apiece in our second featured match. It is CNZ versus Cypher, and game 3 starts now.
Starting things off on Cypher's point of view, and as we mentioned before, this is a battle of the deployables. Cypher has got those totems, which allow him to heal while doing damage as well, whereas CNZ has got the turret that gives you a lot of information, but also helps you in the middle of a fight. CNZ now raining down the rockets from above. Oh, the LG, that is the one weapon he was still missing, and of course it reigns supreme on medium distance, and that was exactly the way that Cypher planned that fight to go down.
And you called it in terms of like what would be the scenario that would not be great for CNZ, and that is Cypher getting an early frag, which he did choose to engage there. That wasn't a Cypher catch, and that was I'm going to choose to fight you here. I want this first frag. And now suddenly battling from one frag behind, Cypher wasn't able to convert anything real big right there. But so far, he landed that beautiful rail as he anticipated where CNZ was going to be. And things have certainly slowed down already. But, you presented that scenario, and that's exactly where we're at right now. Of course, this also happened on Blood Covenant, and CNZ brought it back. We're still very, very early, but an interesting start to this matchup nonetheless.
Absolutely, and again, as you mentioned yourself, it was quite unnecessary too. CNZ to be pushing on when your opponent is above you with an LG and then drops down. That is a really difficult situation to be in when you are lacking the key medium distance weapon. That allowed Cypher to get that win. And now CNZ doing what we would expect him to do, just sitting on the heavy. Cypher, I like the strategy right there, just throwing out the turrets, trying to divide your opponent's attention, and then maybe if you land a good rocket as well, you can push in. Now Cypher didn't do any additional damage, so he just retreated, sacrificed the turret. He's gonna try again soon. This is also good from Cypher. He knows that he cannot allow CNZ to get those tokens set up and hidden away. And that's a very real risk. If CNZ is sticking to one side of the map and denying you access, he's just stockpiling them.
Yeah, and it was a smart play because CNZ, he hung out over here for most of the, first minute and a half of the game. So, wisely done as the heavy is picked back up by Cypher, and, it's just a smart play by Cypher and sort of how he is attacking and approaching this map. And he's over there yet again. Beautiful flyby rail coming out from Cypher, and going to try to land another rocket. And the turret doing some pretty good damage right there. Both players, though, looking a little bit lower than they normally were, and we'll see how they split back up.
I believe there were 4 to 5 pellets coming out from the turret, and then a bit of rocket damage as well, so that's definitely going to be helping Cypher out. Very slow game after that initial engagement. Cypher aggressive on the push, in a bad position. Yeah, I don't know about that one. He pushed up together with his turret, and I think that CNZ tried to land a shot on the turret, but Cypher was just right next to it and took a brunt of the pain as well, so inadvertently causing quite a bit of damage to himself right there.
Yeah, and with no armor stack at all, Cypher controlling that light, but the heavy was up. Cypher now the one finding himself with no armor at all. There he sees the light, waits for it. Beautiful rail through the hole. And he maintains his one frag lead. This is where it gets a little interesting now. CNZ is caught going up the backside. Down below now, another great rail and a follow-up for a second frag. Beautifully read out there by Cypher. And again, very, very reminiscent of what we actually saw in game number 2. So I don't call this locked by any means for Cypher, but he seems to have, he's very in tune with what's going on here on Deep Embrace.
50% railgun for Cypher, the Navi player from Belarus. Definitely making wonders happening. There we go. Can he find some more exit damage? He's even leaving heavy up. He's delaying that item just to apply pressure to CNZ. He knows that Mega's still up. He hears CNZ below, drops down. This is such an opportunity for Cypher, but he has to be careful. 2 bad rockets could make everything go wrong. And smart decision not to try and push through that choke point. Just loop back around. You've got a heavy waiting for you. You'll find another opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, totems have done basically nothing for CNZ this game, right? Cypher's doing a great job of cleaning them up. He's taking smart fights. This turret's been guarding heavy for like a minute and a half now. So, like where you would normally, that might cause other players some problems. Cypher's been handling that quite well. We hit the 5-minute mark. Cypher's up by 2. He's maintaining his control and sure he's not adding to his frags overall. But more importantly, CNZ isn't just giving a ton of frags up, even though he's definitely playing from behind, trying to find any opportunity to land some kind of damage here on Cypher. But Cypher just coming out on top. Their double totem takeout, and once again, We see CNZ kind of figuring out, all right, well, what's my next plan? Oh.
Yeah, Cypher messing up the jump right there, dropping down, exposing himself to a rail, and CNZ actually making great use of that, pushing in aggressively with the LG. Cypher, reluctant to drop onto the Mega because he knows that CNZ is waiting. Rockets, pretty decent.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, like, it just these exchanges are crazy. Cypher down to 8 points of health, going to quickly pick up 250s or 225s for 50. And there it is, the rail from CNZ. Those bubbles won't matter. He's on the board. And look, that came down to, you know, not getting that heavy or that armor. And then just giving CNZ a little bit of room. You know, CNZ is showing that, hey, if you give me an opportunity, I will capitalize on it. And with less than 4 minutes to go, this game is much, much closer than we saw here in the first 4 or 5 minutes. And it just goes to show how important control is on this map here.
And that's just one of the reasons why Quake is such a demanding game at the highest level. That was one missed jump, one tiny fumble on the movement. He took a bad rail, a lot of damage to his stack, missed out on the heavy, and completely changed the pace of the game. And now it's all about CNZ. Hungry for more. Cypher just running for his life right now. Can he get away? Doesn't even have a rocket, no rail. All he's got is a bit of LG, the shotgun, and the tri-bolt.
Oh. Wow. Oh, there it is. I was going to say, like, CNZ looked like he had so many opportunities to clean up that frag. But Cypher was not letting it happen there. The LG comes out into the turret. CNZ does manage to get the frag still and takes the lead 3-2. Cypher looks so controlling in this opening 5 minutes, but CNZ needs to be commended for his patience. He picks up another one flea, making it 4-2. And you just wouldn't expect, if you were watching the first 4 minutes, that CNZ would have an open opportunity. You pointed out that one mistake, but more importantly is, was CNZ able to capitalize on that mistake? The answer is yes. Cypher does bring it back 4-3, but we got ourselves a game.
CNZ was at 3, or Cypher rather, was at 3 points of health. So it makes perfect sense for CNZ to be greedy and push in, looking for that one bullet that he needed to extend his lead even further, but he ate 2 big rockets for his trouble. And now Cypher got a little less than 2 minutes left to work with.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of all up to Cypher on how he is going to be controlling this one. I just watched him pick up the heavy. We're on CNZ's view right now, though, as you know, not playing this to run away, but certainly playing it slow and steady. Needs to make sure he sees the mega pickup, lands a rail, another nice rocket, a third rocket, a fourth rocket, and Cypher gets that mega negated. Now we're going to have a fight at the heavy. Cypher needs this badly. Unfortunately, he gets 2 rails instead. Is there a third one for him? Cypher incredibly low despite getting both of the major items. The turret goes down, but doesn't matter. The LG comes out. He manages to get away, but oh, beautiful rail. It's just going to come down to one final rail. 1 minute left. There's the rocket from Cypher. Oh my goodness, what a game. 5-4.
Here we go, Cypher now. 40 seconds left for 1 frag. Still lacking some of the weapons. Gonna rocket jump all around. He just heard heavy being secured. Oh, careful! Almost sent himself flying off the map. And now he's got the unholy trinity of the arsenal. He knows more or less where CNZ is. Just around the corner, rockets flying around. He has to push. Oh, rocket against the side of the platform.
Oh, the nice totem placement coming out, but Cypher does manage to get a fall away rocket. I don't think CNZ was expecting that, and he kind of walked right into it, and we are tied. I think we're going to be going into overtime, but Cypher would like to just close this out in regulation. He does land a very nice rail, 5-5. We're going into overtime, and CNZ is certainly playing from behind in this overtime. Cypher with a little bit of control. There's a direct rocket to LG from Cypher to try to clean up a second direct rocket, but Cypher cleans it up. He pulls it out in the final seconds with 2 direct rockets hit in a row. Crazy finish to that one. I'm still not even sure because I thought that Cypher had tied it when we went to 5-4, but it looked like it was a trade. Cypher still managing to pull the frag to tie it back up. And then in overtime, Cypher just a little bit better position than CNZ was. CNZ didn't have an opportunity to kind of set up for that overtime. Cypher capitalized on it. What a way to end that series. And and Cypher takes it 2-1.
Cypher indeed, beautiful matchup from both of these players, extremely close, but in the end, Cypher, he makes the plays happen. The moment that he dropped down onto that health bubble when it resulted in a trade, that is the kind of play that CNZ and no one in the world would expect him to make, but still he goes for it and somehow miraculously makes it happen. Now to break down this series further, we've got Ketchup joining us once again, and I'm quite curious to hear what he thought of this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
CNZ is very quickly becoming one of my favorite players to watch, purely because of just how he was always recognized as this really high level player, right, in Pro League, to the point where it was very strange considering that he was ever relegated or ever a player that wasn't in Pro League from day one. You know, like he actually had to qualify through challenges. Both of these players did. Yet they both managed to become real mainstay players because of just their different styles. But CNZ able to make every single map as competitive as it was. I have thoroughly enjoyed seeing his personal climb. But you know, Cypher's definitely the man of the hour. That final frag, that final rocket. You know, I had the pleasure of seeing everything a little bit earlier, being in the lobby, so I got to tune into the Twitch side and see his reaction. You know what I mean? Because you know he's going to pop off a little bit after that one. That rocket was a fantastic shot.
Yeah,
absolutely. Here we see it once again.
Ooh,
Bam!
100, baby.
Cypher indeed with the pop-off. Well-deserved. Two beautiful games. Wonderful game to end it on today, too.
Absolutely. And it's been a good day of games all round, isn't it? Now, this was just a really good one to end on, I think.
Yeah, indeed. But as far as I'm aware, we are not entirely done just yet, because we do have Cypher, who is going to join us momentarily for an interview to share some of his thoughts. So as we take a final look at some of these statistics, Cypher, 45% LG, 51% railgun, still showing he's got mad skills with the aim.
That's nicely done.
So I believe, sorry, the delay is absolutely destroying me today.
It's all good. It's all good.
We'll chat together in a little bit, but for now, as Flea quite rightly pointed out, we have Cypher on the line and ready to go. So, I mean, fresh off the back, Cypher, of that win, down to the wire, you know. I'm going to ask you an incredibly vague one first. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, stressful a little bit. I was sure that I'm gonna lose and that he will not let me take this last frag. But somehow I did it. I don't even know how to explain that.
Well done, man. Well done. That was a really, really fun match to watch. I mean, the series in general.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, just I guess I've got to ask, because you're always well known for just being this naturally gifted player, right? But in those situations where the chips are down and you got to make that play and you've got to keep your cool, how do you do it? You know, how do you stay so in the game in those critical moments that a lot of players would just fall apart in?
I think I'm really concentrated in the game, so I have no limit to think about something else. You know, it's timings, you know, hittings, movement, dodges, rotations. It takes a lot of mind. It takes a lot of mind.
I want to ask about game two. You know, you had a pretty, not really considerable, but you had a solid lead to begin there. It looked like CNZ was really having a lot of trouble trying to wrangling back any control from you. But it eventually shifted, right? And CNZ was able to bring it back. Can you kind of give us what you think that turning point was in that matchup, or where things kind of went wrong?
It was such a long match, I don't even remember what was the turning point, but I remember that I was really relieved after I was making this lead, because I know that against the Nyx, if you give up 1-2 frags, then it's just a nightmare to run on her, and she gonna especially with CNZ style, he likes to hide.
Yeah. Well, I think you mentioned how he is playing, Nix, and I think one of the turning points was you were over at heavy, and he had run away, but then kind of aggressively used it, and it looked like you had to kind of choose which way to go.
The last
Yeah.
moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the last moment, since he hit it so much, there was already no escape for me. I could only like rocket jump, but I had no even HP for that. And I heard about his NVs, and I knew it's GG already.
Okay.
The problem was that I took that position on heavy. I could just like leave and go for mega, for example, or just stay in the middle of the map because I knew that he will do that, and I just did it. I don't know why.
So one more question. A few weeks ago, you announced that you were going to try hard on Quake, right? And you've been putting in the effort. Is there anything in particular that you're like really working on? Something that you're changing in terms of your routine or your practice to get these kinds of results? Because you've been basically invincible ever since you said that.
No, I'm not. I'm playing really not on my top form, which I want, because I feel like I'm struggling. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing myself like sometimes in the game. It's still I still need time to practice. What I meant is that I will just skip all of the other things in my life, like additional ones, and I will just do only Quake and sport, basically. Yeah, basically that's it. So all my thoughts about like Quake and be healthy at some point.
Well,
Okay.
it's all about the fact that we're a few weeks away from wrapping up this stage, and there's still plenty of weeks left to go. But congratulations again for your
Congrats,
result
man.
today.
Thank you.
No
Thank you,
doubt
guys.
you're feeling good about that one. But thanks for joining us, and thanks for your time. But that does mean, everyone, that is all we have time for today. But I mean, before we wrap up here, starting with you, Flea, do you have any standout moments of the day to recap on?
God, just the finisher, right? That was such a beautiful rocket, and we saw a lot of great games throughout the day. I remember Chain against Saigib, the previous featured matchup, watching Chain just rise to the occasion and elevate his skill time and time again. It's a beautiful thing to see. Same goes for CNZ. He couldn't quite edge out the victory today, but we've kind of have our two success stories for the Pro League, right? You've got Chain in NA, and then you've got CNZ over at the EU side, players who've just really reached those new heights by that constant playing and challenging themselves against the best in the world. So it was overall a tremendously fun game of games.
What about you, Wheat?
Same. I mean, that last match had everything you could possibly want, and I think what was most exciting is watching Cypher lay down such a dominant foundation on a map, but then watching CNZ kind of chip away a little bit at a time. It doesn't look like he's got a good position, but he's able to be patient and kind of do it. And you think about in contrast, what we see lots of players do, and not like faulting them at all, like, because I understand, but you want to tend to go aggressive, right? You desire that control or that position so much, and it's just not what CNZ does. And so seeing kind of Cypher tackle that, it's exciting. It made for a great game. And you want to know what else I think is exciting is hearing Cypher say, I'm not playing at my top form.
Yeah.
I'm not super happy with where I'm at. It's like, great. I can't wait to see you say, all right, this is the final form right here. So just all sorts of things to be excited about here as weeks continue on. We go into week 8 next week. And I think this is where players, they really start to say, all right, like, let's turn it up or just get out of here. So I'm excited for what the next few weeks has to offer.
I'll tell you what, it's kind of ridiculous to me how we're already going into week 8. I feel like we've only just started this whole season 2. Yeah, here we are almost 2 months in already. But what a journey it's been. And it's, shouts to production for this new lovely green screen layout that we have. I just lifted my arm, so I've not been lifting my arm. This is my fault. I'm going to lift my arm here. Look, this is my total fault. But I've got a new light that will be able to stop the shadows and stuff. But my arms have been down all day long, like rigid. I've not been lifting them up. The behind the scenes tech. But yeah, shout out to the production team for doing the hard work as always. And thank you, lovely people, for watching the show. Thank you, Flea. And thank you, DJ Week, for joining me today. It's been a really fun day. But this is time to close the show. One final thank you to every single lovely person for joining, whether it was all day. Thanks for the marathon. If not, hopefully you enjoyed the show. We will see you in week 8. Take care.